I don't expect many listeners these days. Last known relay confirmation came from Boise a week ago, and it was just one man reading numbers. No commentary, no survival tips. Just numbers. And even that voice didn't come back the next night. It's been 178 days since WHO raised the global alert level to phase 6 again. You'd think we'd have learned something after 2020, but we didn't. In fact, I think our success back then made us overconfident. Vaccines were rolled out, economies reopened, and by 2023, the world had largely moved on. Masks disappeared. Plexiglass barriers came down. COVID-19 became a paragraph in textbooks. Then, in February 2025, everything shifted. They called it COVID-25. An oversimplification, sure, but it's what the press latched onto. Technically, it was a recombinant strain derived from samples stored in improperly secured freezers in a shuttered lab facility in Lagos. Lab technicians were performing an inventory sweep after government funding dried up. They breached containment, and 2 of them flew commercial out of Murtala Muhammad International before anyone knew they were exposed. The first cases appeared in Sao Paulo and London within days. Then Manila, then Frankfurt. Epidemiologists didn't panic yet. The symptoms looked familiar: dry cough, fatigue, fever. But the markers were different. Incubation time was shorter. Transmission was almost impossible to trace. Within 36 hours of infection, most patients experienced bilateral pneumonia. Within 72 hours, organ degradation began. Medical staff in Portugal reported cases where CT scans showed lung tissue that looked almost chemically scorched. Then the real bombshell dropped. It didn't respond to any post. 2020 vaccines. Not Pfizer, not Moderna, not even the new Chinese mRNA trials that had shown promise in early 2024. Worse, in several countries, Brazil, Iran, the Philippines' yearly administration of modified vaccine candidates led to cytokine storm reactions in nearly 40% of patients. That's when the public turned. Trust snapped like a twig. People began fleeing hospitals. Some burned down clinics. In Lagos, a UN health convoy was shot at by a crowd near Yaba. By early April, the UN Security Council convened an emergency session. I remember watching it from a FEMA support center in Joliet, where I was working signal relays. Secretary General Ilunga's voice was calm but tight. He called for containment, humanitarian corridors, and international support. But that was 6 months ago. Let's be clear. There are no humanitarian corridors now. There are walls, barricades, and exclusion zones. I received a confirmed relay from Ankara, describing full city lockdowns with shoot-on-site orders at night. Hospitals aren't treating anyone without biometric clearance. If your chip ID doesn't scan green, they don't open the door. In Detroit, triage centers were firebombed by locals when military units began rounding up the sick. I had a cousin in Dearborn. Haven't heard from her in weeks. What we're dealing with here isn't science fiction. No mutants, no monsters. Just bad science, worse leadership, and a society that forgot how fragile it was. Back to Chicago. That's where it began for me. I was managing a communications node for the emergency alert system. We were stationed out of a retrofitted AT&T switchboard building on South Halstead. When the CDC issued their first nationwide guidance bulletin advising closure of all non-essential workplaces, I stayed on site. Most of us did. We had backup diesel, a mesh network node, and direct feeds to NOAA and the National Guard channel grid. Then came the first real blow. O'Hare shut down. I'm not talking delayed flights. I mean completely grounded. All terminals sealed. ATC towers emptied. A Delta captain on final approach refused to land and rerouted midair when he saw the barricades on the runways. That night, the Illinois National Guard sealed the I-90 inbound lanes. I watched it happen in real time on our traffic cams, rows of green Humvees parked perpendicular across the Eisenhower. Then the blackout came. Not a total one. Not at first. But select grid segments started dropping without notice. Cicero, Hyde Park. Logan Square, power out. Then internet signal dropped in pulses. The official line was, load balancing failures, but we knew. Someone was cutting feed intentionally. By the time FEMA distributed the first mass text alert, it was already too late. Shelter in place, travel restricted. Report symptoms to the designated screening center nearest you. But the screening centers had become ghost zones. I drove past one in Oaklawn the next morning. Tents overturned. Blood on the sidewalk. No staff. Just a single digital sign flickering. Stand by for further instruction. I haven't seen a live FEMA vehicle since May. I'm saying all this not to spread fear, but because most of the remaining broadcasts I've picked up are either pre-recorded, automated, or delusional. A man calling himself Commander Rhett was broadcasting from somewhere near Boise, promising clean water and a sanctuary dome built inside a repurposed mall. I fact-checked the coordinates. That mall burned down in March. No dome, no sanctuary. Let me give you the basics. As of the last cross-reference data from the CDC emergency server cache, which I still have access to through an old satellite uplink, here's what we know. COVID-25 has a median mortality rate of 43%, based on reported clinical cases. Early symptoms mirror original strains, but accelerate within 48 hours. No vaccine has proven effective in either prevention or recovery. Airborne transmission confirmed, including through HVAC systems. Asymptomatic carriers remain infectious for up to 6 days. Secondary bacterial infections are causing compounding fatalities. Civil unrest and collapse of logistics chains have halted proper data collection in over 30 countries. I'm not a doctor, but I spent years watching systems fail-safes, redundancies, communications infrastructure, and I can tell you when something's beyond recovery. The safe zones, the quarantines, the green bands known of its holding. I have a list here of confirmed dead zones places where no signals, no pings, no telemetry have returned for over 30 days. Milan, Italy. Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Dallas, Texas. Kyoto, Japan. Recife, Brazil. Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Halifax, Canada. Some are gone from war, some from collapse, and some because the last voices left didn't have the strength to keep calling out. My strength's holding for now. I've got solar, enough diesel to last through fall, and a redundant transmitter built from salvaged parts off old Midwest FM towers. You're listening to that transmitter now. Frequency 106.3. Relay 41. I'm still scanning, still reporting, still surviving. If you hear me, broadcast back. I monitor the band every morning from 0600 to 0700 hours Central Time. If you're scared, good. That means you're still sane. If you're angry, then remember, we had warning. We all had warning. And we ignored it. Stay sharp, stay clean, stay isolated. This is Anthony Ward, broadcasting again on frequency 106.3, Relay 41. If you're out there, the signal's strong tonight. Clear skies over central Illinois. Still no confirmation from Tower 19 out of Louisville. I tried pinging them at midnight, and again at 0300 nothing but static. I'm beginning to think that whole relay site's dark. I want to talk about how this whole thing unraveled, not just the virology, not just the numbers, but the decisions. Because we didn't get here just because of a virus. We got here because of trust. Or the loss of it. When the first international press conference on COVID-25 was held in Geneva, people were already on edge. Memory of the early days of 2020 was still raw for some. But the difference this time was the timing. We weren't caught off guard. We knew what pandemics could do. We'd rehearsed it, built frameworks, even had pandemic treaties ready to sign. But we didn't act. Because no one wanted to be the first to say, lock the doors again. In those first 2 weeks of global spread early, March 2025, I was still monitoring public communications for FEMA. The pushback was immediate. Business coalitions begged governments not to shut down again. Some officials even downplayed the virus on air. It's under control. It's not another 19. It's not another lockdown. Familiar lines. But this wasn't COVID-19. This wasn't the flu either. The latency was deceptive. For the first 24 hours, people felt fine, just a bit warm, maybe tired. By hour 48, the lungs had already started to inflame. By hour 60, nearly every patient who went without care required intubation. But hospitals filled up before anyone had a chance to draw a breath. I had a friend Jesse and worked as an ER nurse at Northwestern Memorial. We used to grab drinks at Moe's Cantina on Friday nights, back when the world still had Fridays. She sent me a voice memo on March 19, just after her 36-hour shift. Her voice was shaky. She said the hospital had converted the parking garage into a secondary triage ward. Patients on cots. No ventilators left. Triage teams using splitter-sewn machine for 2 people. The worst part, she said, wasn't the coughing or the delirium. It was the silence when patients stopped moving. She didn't make it through the month. I still have that recording. I don't play it anymore. By April, multiple cities were experimenting with controlled community corridors, so-called safe zones, surrounded by checkpoints, staffed by a mix of military and public health workers. In theory, these were virus-free bubbles. In practice, they were pressure cookers. Take Atlanta. Zone cone covered most of Midtown. Entry required biometric scan, blood test, and a 4-day quarantine at an old Marriott-turned-intake center. It worked for a while. Cases inside dropped. Local broadcasts even reported morale was improving. Then, on May 6th, a vendor truck with a forged clearance barcode entered through Gate 4. No one caught it. The driver was symptomatic. Within 3 days, the infection rate inside Zone Cone went from 8 to 22%. Panic swept the corridors. Residents tried to leave. The National Guard fired rubber rounds, then live ones. I replayed the gate logs on an old mirror server someone leaked from the Georgia EOC. The logs showed that clearance failure was flagged. It was manually overridden. Someone on the inside made that decision. And 0 people paid for it. The same story played out in Santiago, in Lagos, in Marseille, in Guangzhou. Some called it negligence. Others called it sabotage. Whatever the motive, the result was the same collapse of containment. I'm going to say something now that's going to sound harsh, but it's the truth, and no one else is left to say it. The safe zones didn't fail because of the virus. They failed because people brought their old world into a new one. Bureaucracy, corruption, ego, and fear. You want to know the irony? The places that held out longest weren't cities. They were islands. Remote research outposts. Mining towns. I've got an old analog signal coming out of Churchill, Manitoba, population a few hundred. No airports running. One rail line, closed borders. And they've kept it clean. Last I heard, they're using old ham radios, trading pelts and canned goods. A reminder that sometimes, going backward is the only way forward. Meanwhile, the G20 tried to maintain coordinated action well into May. But every time a new member state collapsed, first India, then Argentina, then Turkey, talks just became theater. Even the WHO advisory panel went dark. Their last release wasn't even a document. It was a 42-second video loop from a conference room in Copenhagen. Empty chairs. A single flickering monitor. It wasn't until June 3rd that the United States publicly admitted we had lost contact with over half the continental response teams. Not overrun. Not confirmed dead. Just lost. That's when the real evacuation started. Not to bunkers, not to shelters, but to nowhere. People packed up and left without direction, just the impulse to run, to not be there when it came. I stayed. Not because I'm brave or smart, but because I knew the system. I knew the frequencies. And I knew that even after the lights go out, information matters. Signal matters. That's why I'm here. Let me give you a brief technical update for anyone still keeping logs. The primary VHF emergency relay frequencies between 148 and 174 MHz are largely dead. Most shortwave repeaters are being jammed by automated ID loops or signal degradation. AM is cleaner. My strongest reception is still coming from east of Denver, likely a converted NOAA station, though the broadcasts are irregular. If you're trying to transmit, stay between 5 and 15 watts on analog. Digital signals are still being flagged and potentially triangulated either by rogue enforcement teams or opportunistic hijackers. I can't confirm which. Also important for anyone in cold zones, COVID-25 does not lose virulence below freezing. Early speculation from Russian and Canadian sources that the virus was temperature sensitive were disproved by field tests in Yakutsk and Anchorage. It spreads in snow the same way it spreads in a mall. Don't let your guard down just because the air stings. I've had to make this place livable over the past 4 months. The relay station wasn't built for human occupancy long term. No running water, no food stores, just racks, switches, and a diesel generator buried under 100 tons of steel and concrete. I retrofitted the air filtration system using components from old HVAC units scavenged in Princeton. The water's coming from a gravity well, filtered through a Berkey tower. I rigged up with charcoal and sand layers. Food is rationed, mostly freeze-dried supplies stolen from a National Guard checkpoint in Peoria after they went dark. No refrigeration, so I eat cold. Cans mostly. Salted meat when I have it. I sleep next to the transmitter. Not because it's comfortable, but because it hums. That low, constant hum is the only sound that tells me something still works. And maybe that's all any of us need right now. Some small proof that the world didn't just disappear overnight. If you're listening, remember this. We've survived worse than fear, but we've never survived this much silence. This is Anthony Ward, Relay 41, Frequency 106.3, transmitting from what used to be Central Illinois. Time now is 0600 hours, clear signal across the central band. I'm going to focus today's transmission on the United States and the neighboring border zones, what's left of them, anyway. Let me start with the hard truth. There is no longer a unified national response. FEMA stopped issuing centralized directives over a month ago. The last White House press briefing was 72 days ago, and no independent relay I know has picked up a live presidential broadcast since. If there's still an executive chain of command, it's off-grid, or underground, or both. What we do have now is fragmentation regional authorities acting independently, sometimes conflicting. Some states still maintain perimeter checkpoints and vehicle movement tracking. Others have gone full isolationist. And some, like Arizona, have simply stopped communicating. Let's walk through the regions. The Northeast Corridor. Massachusetts and New York reactivated their 2020 emergency frameworks in early March. Boston issued a 21-day lockdown and curfews, even rebooting old contact tracing apps. It worked for a few weeks. Then came the collapse. By mid-April, New York's outer boroughs were ringed in concrete, manned by National Guard out of Fort Drum. But the virus moved faster through trucks, air systems, even water lines. When food deliveries failed, riots erupted in Sunset Park, Flatbush, and the Bronx. By May, exits were sealed. I've seen drone footage cars burning on the Queensboro Bridge. In June, Manhattan was declared a Class 3 red zone. No entry, no evacuation. Ferry docks now loop a warning. No humanitarian access. Infection index critical. You are under observation. Boston lasted longer, but the MIT research complex near Cambridge became a flashpoint. One trial vaccine allegedly caused fatal immune reactions in most subjects. The lab was stormed, everyone inside gone. The building was firebombed a week later. The Midwest, central states, This is my region, Illinois. Quiet, but not safe. Chicago collapsed zone by zone. After the Michigan Avenue exclusion line failed, the loop went dark, no power, no drones, just dead data feeds. I still get weather pings every 6 hours from South State, but no one's reading them. Iowa's cold chain logistics failed early. A Des Moines warehouse storing expired Moderna doses was torched in April. Kansas and Missouri declared martial law ahead of federal orders. I've heard rumors of anti-vehicle trenches dug across I-70. FM chatter from Topeka reports makeshift trade hubs and convoy bartering. Minnesota's doing something different. A network of rural churches uses bell towers as analog relays. Every 3 days I hear them. Coded weather reports, infection alerts, short prayers. It's primitive, but it's working. The South. Texas went dark in waves. Dallas lost power by March's end. Houston's quarantine fell when fuel ran out and Gulf refineries shut down. It was the Rio Grande corridor that broke. Thousands tried fleeing into Mexico, not to run from U.S. forces, but from the virus. But Mexico had already sealed its side. Camps formed at border crossings. The Santa Fe Bridge became a sea of tarps. Tear gas was used. Gunfire was heard. No one took credit. Mexico's own systems collapsed soon after. Monterrey's hospitals ran dry on oxygen in a weekend. Mexico City issued curfews, but couldn't enforce them. Whole neighborhoods marked infected were spray-painted with blue X's. You can still see them from satellite images. In Florida, highways were closed to inbound traffic. Roadside tests turned into detentions. Jacksonville's naval base became a triage zone, but I've heard nothing from it since June. The West Coast. California broke from the federal chain on April 18. Governor Lyons declared state-level sovereignty. National Guard units were recalled under state command. Borders shut. Interstates barricaded. No one in, no one out. Bay Area reports suggest San Francisco's safe zone delta still holds barely. Entry requires a clean health ID. Anyone flagged gets turned away. No appeals. Los Angeles is worse. Local ham operators broadcast little more than lists of missing people. Some beg for antibiotics. One loop just repeats. Do not go downtown. I haven't heard verified comms from the city in weeks. Rumors speak of underground clinics still running in Chinatown, but I can't confirm any of it. Canada and the northern border. Canada locked down early, issuing a nationwide quarantine on March 14. At first it worked, but then the second wave hit. British Columbia failed by April. Alberta went silent. Manitoba blew its ice roads to block migration north. Now, only faint French-language signals come from Thunder Bay or Sudbury, and they don't sound hopeful. The U.S.-Canada border is now closed. Niagara Falls. Champlain guarded by autonomous drones. I've seen the DHS feed. Anything with heat gets rerouted or shut down. So now, you know. The map of North America is no longer borders and states. It's hotspots and shadows, pockets of humanity struggling to maintain routine under the crushing weight of viral entropy. This is Anthony Ward, Relay 41, Frequency 106.3, broadcasting from Illinois at 0600 hours Central Time. This morning's signal check came back clean from 2 repeater-sewn faint return from a rig somewhere west of Ogallala, Nebraska, and another shortwave skip bouncing off the ionosphere from southern Spain. It only lasted 3 seconds. But that's 3 seconds more than I got yesterday. Tonight, I want to talk about the rest of the world. What's happening beyond the border fences, past the drone zones, beyond the broken chain of embassies, summits, and silent capitals. Because while America's been crumbling into regional gridlock, the rest of the world has been unraveling in its own brutal, quiet way. Europe. The EU's last unified directive came on April 4. Then it splintered. France locked down fast border closures, biometric checkpoints, contact tracing, tied to old yellow card systems. But it wasn't enough. Marseille fell into martial law. Now, it's silent. A woman in Corsica broadcasts names and coordinates daily. I don't know who she is, but she's still talking. Germany held longer, but when Luxembourg and Belgium collapsed, over 500,000 refugees flooded Berlin's perimeter. Makeshift camps in Brandenburg became outbreak zones. A leaked Bundestag memo confirmed breaches in 37 high-containment biolabs, not from infected from staff walking out. Spain burned early. Vaccine panic. Food riots. Barcelona's medical grid is now run by rogue doctors broadcasting triage codes from an old subway control room. They call themselves Porta de Vida. The UK sealed tight tunnel closed, ports locked, Scotland barricaded them 74. London fractured. Only Canary Wharf and the Underground still show activity. There are rumors the Home Office moved underground. I can't verify it. Ireland closed early, but it wasn't fast enough. Cork became a burial zone. Belfast went off air 3 weeks ago. Asia. China acted fast. Digital lockdowns. Drone patrols. Entire districts declared thermal voids, zones where heat signatures weren't allowed to persist. But COVID-25 outpaced them. Shanghai sealed itself. Rail cars block entrances like barricades. I've seen the satellite images. Official broadcasts stopped. Now it's just number stations, Cold War style, clicking out digits on shortwave. Some think it's code. Others think it's just ghosts with power. Japan stayed quiet, but density worked against them. Tokyo's train shutdown left the city frozen. Rumors say the government moved into underground bunkers near Mount Asama. The Imperial Palace is sealed by its own guards. South Korea's digital response collapsed in Daegu. Forged health passes flooded the market. The last health bulletin read, "Symptom-free is not clearance." India became the world's largest red zone in under 6 weeks. Mumbai and Delhi broke first. Rural migration triggered super-spreader routes. The last confirmed signal I picked up was from Himachal Pradesh, an old man reading Buddhist prayers into the dark. Middle East and North Africa. Iran collapsed when Tehran fell in early April. The Ayatollah gave one broadcast, blaming foreign bioweapons. After that, silence. Roads between Isfahan and Shiraz are now controlled by armed militia. Entry requires proof of clean blood, whatever that means. Israel went into full lockdown. Drones patrol blocks. The Iron Dome was repurposed for domestic airspace enforcement. Tel Aviv and Haifa report movement. Gaza and the West Bank nothing. Saudi Arabia canceled Hajj for the first time in recorded history. Pilgrims stranded. Riyadh's skyline still lights up at night. But I haven't heard a single voice. In North Africa, Egypt's Nile corridor went dark. Only 2 faint signals came out of Tunis. Likely marine bands. Fishermen, maybe. Alive, maybe. Sub-Saharan Africa. Rural zones fared better. Cities didn't. Lagos, Nairobi, Johannesburg. All hit fast, hard, final. One signal from Namibia hand-cranked relay. A team of engineers broadcasting in English, German, and Oshiwambo. Then cut off. South Africa declared a Tier 5 lockdown. Entire provinces sealed. A base in Gauteng became a fortress. The last drone feed I saw showed a line of patients stretching a mile, waiting at gunpoint. Latin America. Brazil collapsed in 10 days. Sao Paulo, Recife, Brasilia-Gone. Triage camps overwhelmed. No PPE, no containment. The Amazon became a river of silence. Whole villages vanished, no fire. No sound. Just gone. Argentina shut its south. Ushuaia may still be clean. I hear a man named Elias on shortwave reads the news to his dog. Plays tango from a vinyl scratched to hell. It's the only voice I still get from that part of the world. Oceania. Australia sealed everything. Airspace, land borders, ports. The outback became its firewall. Melbourne and Sydney fell after unregulated port breaches. Military curfews now control everything: drones, checkpoints, biometric scans at grocery store doors. New Zealand locked down earlier than anyone. Total closure. No flights, no ships. Some say it's still clean, others say it's just sealed. All I know is I haven't heard a voice from Auckland in over 2 months. So now, you know. The world you remember, the flights, the concerts, the border stamps, the festivalsis gone. Not in fire, not in flood, but in the quiet suffocation of trust. One nation at a time, one city at a time, one home at a time. If you're listening to this broadcast, you are not alone. You are the resistance to silence. You are the memory of what came before. This is Anthony Ward. Relay 41, frequency 106.3, broadcasting out of Illinois. Local time is 0600 hours. The signal is steady, the diesel is holding. Solar gave me 4 hours of charge yesterday, so I've got enough juice to get through another cycle. If you're listening, if you're still out there, this transmission is for you. Today, I want to talk about the truth nobody wanted to say out loud. The virus isn't just contagious. It isn't just fast. It's lethal, faster than we ever anticipated. More persistent than any coronavirus before it. And worse, we couldn't buy time the second time around. Most of you remember the curve from 2020. Charts, flattening, peaks, and valleys. We thought we understood the rhythm of viral spread, but COVID-25 took that rhythm and replaced it with a clock. From first exposure, symptoms can appear as early as 12 hours. Median onset is around 28, but it's what comes after that's terrifying. By hour 36, tight chest, hypoxia, visible cyanosis around the lips in almost all severe cases. By hour 48, massive fluid accumulation in the lungs. Radiology reports compare it to chemical burns. By hour 60, if untreated multi-organ failure begins. By hour 72, in over 70% of confirmed clinical cases, death. People go to bed with a sore throat. They don't wake up. In rural areas, that meant bodies in bedrooms for days before anyone knew what had happened. In urban zones, it meant entire apartment complexes infected before the first body hit the morgue. And morgues filled up fast. The death certificates didn't say asphyxiation. They said complications from cytokine overload. The body fighting itself, drowning in its own immune system. It's the speed that broke the world, not the virus alone. The speed robbed us of the one thing that gave us a fighting chance in 2020. Time to think, to respond, to prepare. The world didn't sit idle. I want to make that clear. Researchers tried, from day one. But that effort turned desperate fast. Within 10 days of the first confirmed international cases, the WHO activated the International Therapeutic Cooperative Network. A dozen nations contributed data. Labs across 5 continents began working off the same genome string. The virus wasn't wholly new. It shared parts of the spike protein pattern from the 2020 strain. But in sequencing, it revealed a near-total recombination of its receptor-binding domain. It used ACE2, like the original strain, but bound harder. And it included fragments of previously unknown viral proteins that seemed to counteract host immune suppression. In simpler terms, it didn't just infect. It disarmed the immune system before overwhelming it. Initial vaccine attempts reused platform models from the old mRNA and vector types. Moderna launched a compressed development protocol 25A within 11 days. Pfizer followed suit with RM3. Johnson said nothing, but rumors claimed they were trialing something off books with a military-grade vector in New Jersey. But no one cleared stage 2. The Moderna trial run, under emergency authorization at a field lab outside Salt Lake City, rolled 140 volunteers. They were mostly young, healthy, with no known risk factors. Doses were administered at quarter strength to reduce side effects. But by day 3 post-injection, 57 of those volunteers were dead. That's not a misstatement. 57. dead, not from infection, but from the immune reaction to the vaccine itself. Autopsies revealed massive cytokine storms, internal hemorrhaging, and autoimmune collapse. The spike protein signature had triggered a cross-reactive immune cascade that attacked the liver, lungs, and brain. They halted the trial immediately. But word got out. A junior tech in the Salt Lake lab uploaded the results to a private server in Norway, trying to alert researchers. That server was breached, and within 12 hours, a partial report was leaked on Telegram and Twitter. The headline went global before any verification could stop it. The vaccine is worse than the virus. It wasn't true. Not always. Not for every attempt. But truth doesn't matter when people are terrified. Clinics were stormed. Distribution hubs firebombed. Scientists threatened. In one case, a research team in Cape Town was found murdered, no equipment taken, just their bodies slumped over microscopes. By the time WHO responded with clarification, it was too late. The damage was done. Public trust gone. International cooperation fractured. Each country went dark and went inward. There were whispers, places where something might have worked. In Finland, a biotech startup claimed to have developed a non-mRNA, inhalable protein-based treatment that showed immune harmonization in animal models. But the lab located outside Turku was overrun by a local mob before human trials could begin. All equipment destroyed, researchers unaccounted for. In Taiwan, a shadow program called K2C supposedly developed an experimental viral blocker patch using interferon lambda to delay symptom onset. But the factory was seized by the military. And I haven't picked up a broadcast from Taipei in over a month. Even here, in the States, DARPA was working on a universal coronavirus chassis, an immunogenic scaffold that could adapt in real time. It was code, named Project Merryweather. But after Langley went dark and Bethesda's facilities were sealed, nobody's seen the data since. That brings me to what's happening now. People are turning to black market immunity boosters, subcutaneous injections sold by cartels and rogue clinics. Most are just saline. Some are steroids. A few contain unregulated experimental compounds that mimic T-cell regulators. They might buy you 24 hours, or they might kill you on the spot. There's no quality control when society's run by panic and power outages. I'm not just reporting. I've seen it. Back in April, my younger brother Marcus took part in a civilian-administered trial out of a university field lab in Michigan. He was a paramedic. He wanted to help. He said, "If I can take the hit for someone else, let it be me." He called me the next day. Said he was nauseous, but okay. 36 hours later, he stopped responding. When I finally tracked down the lab records, through back-channel SysID, was listed among the non-responsive. That's bureaucratic code for dead before we could record it. I still have his last message saved on a drive. I haven't opened it. Not yet. So where does that leave us? The pharmaceutical infrastructure is shattered. The labs are either dark or under military lockdown. And the few remaining researchers are scattered, isolated, or afraid to speak. There's no centralized pathway to a cure. No Operation Warp Speed. No Manhattan Project. There's just this: isolated field testing, quiet hope, and survival. If you're sick, rest, isolate, stay warm, avoid stress, hydrate. It won't stop the virus, but it may slow it. If you're not sick, stay clean, boil everything. UV light won't help much, but filtered ventilation and layered masks still provide some defense. Not perfect, but something. If you come across a clinic offering miracle treatments, walk away. If you hear about plasma serums or immunity wafers, they're scams. The only thing they'll immunize you from is reality. This is Anthony Ward, Relay 41, Frequency 106.3, broadcasting from Central Illinois. 0600 hours. Signal clean across bands 1 through 3. If you're hearing this, you've made it through another night. That's not nothing. Tonight's transmission isn't about collapse. Not this time. It's about survival. About the small things. The overlooked things. The kind of practical advice that used to be printed on hospital pamphlets or read off by board school nurses, but now might be the difference between waking up tomorrow or not. If you're alone, if you're scared, and if you've got nothing but a radio and a battered backpack, then listen closely. What I'm going to give you now is everything I've learned, confirmed, and field tested about staying alive during the COVID-25 pandemic, with no medicine, no hospitals, and no safety net. Basic hygiene. This virus spreads fast. Airborne, yes, but also through touch, moisture, contaminated surfaces. Viral RNA has been found in dried saliva on plastic 3 days after initial contact. So the first defense isn't a gun. It's clean hands. Hand washing. Use soap. Real soap, bar or liquid. Antibacterial isn't required. Regular soap breaks down the virus's lipid membrane. Wash for at least 30 seconds. Focus on fingertips, under the nails, and between fingers. If no running water is available, use stored water in a squeeze bottle. Conserve, but don't shortcut. If soap isn't available, use 70% isopropyl alcohol. Anything lower doesn't work effectively. Higher concentrations evaporate too fast. Surface disinfection. For metal, plastic, and glass, use bleach diluted at 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. Wipe. Let sit 5 minutes, wipe again. For electronics, use 70% alcohol on cloth. Never spray directly. Remember, don't mix cleaning chemicals. Bleach plus ammonia, poison. Personal items. Assume everything that leaves your person could come back contaminated. Phones, glasses, key swipe them down daily. Never share utensils, drinking containers, towels, or clothes. Clothing protocol. Outer layers should be removed before entering your shelter. If exposed to public space or potential carriers, isolate worn clothing in a sealed bag for 24-48 hours. Sunlight helps. UVB rays degrade viral RNA. Leave clothes outside if weather permits. Masking and air filtration. Masks work, not perfectly, but they reduce exposure and protect both you and those around you. Masking. Use 95 or equivalent if available. Surgical masks offer partial protection, but don't seal tightly. If we're using 95s, rotate masks every 72 hours to allow viral deactivation. Store in paper bags, not plastic, to avoid moisture retention. Cloth masks should be multi-layered, with a melt-blown or HEPA layer if possible. Wash daily with soap and hot water. DIY options. A folded t-shirt is not enough. Use coffee filters, vacuum cleaner bags, or furnace filter cutouts as inserts for cloth masks. Seal around the nose and jawline using cloth tape if you don't have a nose bridge. Ventilation. Avoid stagnant air. Virus concentration increases in still environments. If possible, use box fans with furnace filters taped to the back to create improvised air purifiers. Keep air flowing outward exhaust, not intake. Indoor air hygiene. Do not burn incense or candles. Smoke particles can carry viral material. Hang damp cloths near entryways virus particles, bind to moisture, and settle faster. Avoid large HVAC systems, unless you can confirm HEPA filtration. Shelter protocols. You don't need a bunker. You need discipline. Entry decontamination. Create a staging area near the entrance. A tarp or floor covering where gear is dropped. Wash hands before touching anything inside. Remove and isolate clothing and gear used outside. Quarantine procedure. If you must take in a new person, isolate them for 5 days, even if symptom-free. The virus's silent period is shorter than old strains, but still enough to mislead. Set up a separate room, tent, or area with its own entry, exit path if possible. Latrine and waste. Waste is a vector. Viral RNA can survive in feces. Dig pit latrines far from water sources. Cover after each use. Use bleach water, 1 to 10, in bucket latrines. Burn or bury used toilet paper and feminine hygiene products. Outside movement and supply runs. Leaving your shelter is a gamble. Only do it when absolutely necessary. Timing. Move early morning or late night when traffic is lowest and UV exposure is rising. Wear full skin coverage. Gloves, sleeves, eye protection. Gloves. Disposable, nitrile, or vinyl, if possible. If using reusable gloves, disinfect after every outing. Don't touch your face with them. Touch discipline. Treat every surface as contaminated. Open doors with elbows. Use sleeves or cloth to grip items. Don't adjust your mask while moving. Carry kit. Mask, hand sanitizer, minimum 60% alcohol, gloves, a trash bag for dirty items, wipes, extra cloth for face cover, flashlight, basic radio scanner, printed maps. Don't rely on GPS. Food, water, and cleanliness. Don't starve. Don't contaminate your own shelter. Water safety. Boil all water for at least 1 minute at full rolling boil. Use chlorine dioxide tablets or iodine drops if you can't boil. Rainwater is viable if collected off clean surfaces and filtered. Food handling. Wash all produce with soap and water. Heat canned food to boiling if uncertain of source. Discard any packaging from public spaces outside. Never bring grocery bags inside uncleaned. Storage. Store food in airtight containers. Avoid exposure to pests. Keep separate areas for clean food and unclean items yet to be processed. Body maintenance. Survival means more than just avoiding the virus. Sleep. Get it. Your immune system depends on it. If you can't sleep through the night, try 2 blocks of 4 hours. It's better than nothing. Nutrition. Prioritize calories and protein. Beans, rice, oats, lentils, peanut butter, canned fish. Supplement with vitamins if available. Vitamin D, zinc, call immune supportive. Mental clarity. Write, speak, talk to the radio, talk to yourself. The silence will eat at you if you let it. If you pray, pray. If you don't, reflect. Final advice. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistently cautious. The virus is a pattern seeker. It finds the cracks. One mistake, one breach, one shared spoon. That's all it needs. Build habits, rituals, systems. And remember, paranoia isn't the enemy anymore. It's what's keeping you breathing. That's your guide. It won't save everyone, but it might save you. This is Anthony Ward, Relay 41, Frequency 106.3, transmitting from the relay shelter just outside Mendota, Illinois. 0600 hours. Light snow overnight. I caught a slight drop in voltage from the solar panel system, probably buildup on the external grid. I'll clear it when I have the energy. That's the problem now. Energy. This morning, I woke up drenched in sweat. My joints felt like gravel. Shivers, even under 2 blankets. Slight pressure in the chest, not pain, just a weight. I didn't sleep well. I keep checking the thermometer. 100.8. Low-grade fever. I know what this could be. I know how it starts. The cruel thing about COVID is that it doesn't hit you like a hammer. It drips in subtle, quiet. You doubt yourself. Maybe it's the cold. Maybe you're just tired. But you know. In your bones. You know. I haven't left the relay bunker in 5 days. No exposure. Not unless something came through the water or I slipped up on surface decontamination. And yet, something's inside me. I've locked down the shelter. I've got a little over 3 quarts of clean water left inside the safe zone, boiled and sealed. 4 packets of freeze-dried soup. I'm rationing now not just food, but movement. I'm logging every symptom in a paper journal. Body temperature, respiration rate, hydration level, urine color, mental clarity. Small details become survival. I force myself through a stretching routine just to keep circulation going. Light exercises, arm rotations, deep breathing. I've read that shallow breathing invites pulmonary congestion. I'm not sure if it matters anymore, but I do it anyway. 5-second inhale, 7-second exhale. Repeat, repeat again. I've repositioned the solar unit's external battery pack closer to the comms console. If I collapse, I need the transmitter to keep running on automatic. That's where I've focused most of my attention. The transmitter, the signal. I'm reaching out now more than ever. Here's what I've recorded over the past 72 hours. Faint signals, partial voice captures, some data tones I haven't identified. Reykjavik, Iceland. Call sign EI9T. Woman's voice. Broken English. Said she was operating from a fishing vessel repurposed as a relay platform. Claimed low infection rates on the island. Local travel only by snowmobile. Ended her transmission with coordinates I couldn't confirm, probably intentional disinformation to avoid looting. Tallinn, Estonia, CW, Morse transmission. Short burst. Letters repeating, sick, no help, holding out, God help us. No follow-up. CW tone faded mid-transmission. Goma, DRC, Radio Vumilia. Clear AM voice transmission in French and Swahili. Claimed to be operated by former telecom technicians using mobile battery arrays. Said cholera has returned due to untreated water. No mention of COVID symptoms. Possibly isolated. Northern Alaska. No call sign. Male voice. Broadcasting in military code USN format, but improvised. Repeated, listening on TAC 471. Voice sounded winded. Replayed it several times, scoffing present. Signal terminated, abruptly. Ukraine. Relay Echo Kyiv. This one gave me pause. Very strong shortwave signal at 9.5. Female voice. Accented but clear. Claimed to be broadcasting from the tunnels beneath Kyiv Central Station, operating off car batteries. Reading news headlines from 5 days prior translated Reuters pieces. Seemed lucid. Said the Eastern Front has collapsed. Russia no longer responding. More infected moving west. I tried to respond. I keyed back twice. No answer. She may be in receive-only mode, conserving power. It's strange. In this silence, a whisper from across the world feels like a hand on your shoulder. I've rebuilt my comms rig using an old Yaesu FT891. I stripped from a crashed van near Peru, Illinois. Added a makeshift NVIS wire antenna out the back. With the ground wet and the air dense, I'm getting skip like I haven't heard in weeks. Every connection I make, I log in a red spiral notebook frequency, time, tone, language, location guess. It's not just a hobby. It's therapy. It's proof. If I go under the fever spikes and the lungs give out, this transmitter will keep pushing out pre-recorded cycles. Station ID, frequency list, survival tips, and the coordinates to Relay 41. Maybe someone will come. Maybe not. But I won't die silent. And a reminder to you. If you're listening, and you feel it coming on, don't panic. That's how it wins. Panic shortens breath, weakens decisions, makes you sloppy. If you've been exposed, lock down, hydrate, rest, monitor. Try to keep warm, but not too warm. Fever needs regulation. Don't wrap yourself in 3 blankets and bake the virus into your lungs. Sleep upright if you can. Elevation reduces fluid accumulation in the lungs. And above all, stay alert. I once heard that surviving in war comes down to 2 things: luck and repetition. Repetition is habit, and habit becomes survival. This is Anthony Ward. Relay 41. Frequency 106.3. Local time, 0600 hours. Mendota skies clouded over. No solar yesterday. I'm running off diesel for the third day straight. Fuel tanks down to the bottom third. Conserving power from here on out. I don't know if this transmission is getting out clean. If the audio's slurred or skipping, it's not the gear. It's me. The fever crept back last night. Low. Not dangerous yet. Hovered around 101. But it's the kind that doesn't burn. It settles. Like fog on a windshield that never clears. I've been keeping the log, as always. Trying to keep structure. Memory fades without it. When your body starts working against you, routine becomes the only anchor that keeps your mind upright. So I've been writing, listening, broadcasting, and now, something strange. At 0230 hours this morning, I picked up an irregular burst on 905. Same frequency as the woman out of Kyiv from earlier in the week. At first, I thought it was another rebroadcast. She's been sending pre-recorded bulletins lately. Usually a loop of medical updates and geopolitical news. But this time, it was live. This is Relay Echo Kyiv. Do not respond on open band. We have your coordinates. Sit tight. That was it. 11 seconds of clear signal. No call sign, no request for confirmation. Then dead air. I replayed the message 3 times to make sure it wasn't distorted. It wasn't. She said they had my coordinates. I haven't transmitted coordinates on any open frequency. Only encrypted. Low band. Short-range pings using the auxiliary relay beacon. That beacon pings once every 12 hours, using an outdated FEMA frequency. It was designed to mark critical supply shelters in disaster zones, but as far as I knew, those monitoring protocols went offline in May. So the question is, who's listening? And more importantly, do I want them to know where I am? My fever log, day 3. Woke at 0400 hours, full body sweat, slight chest tightness. Still able to walk, though slower. Short-term memory mildly impaired, caught myself boiling the same water twice. No visible hypoxia yet, lips and fingertips remain pink. Respiration rate, 22 per minute, shallow. Cough now presentry, persistent, mild. Hydration steady. Drank just over 6 cups yesterday. Appetite poor, but tolerable. 400 calorie intake. Oat bar, canned lentils. Delirium. Mild, but increasing momentary confusion about time and date. I won't sugarcoat it. I'm in the early stages. I've seen this play out, and others recorded it, archived it. The body breaks down slowly at first, then all at once. But I still have time. I've begun microdosing ibuprofen for the virus, but to manage the inflammatory response. 1 200 milligram tablet every 8 hours. Too much, and you tax the kidneys. Too little, and the fever spirals. No antivirals here, just discipline, water, and routine. Despite the fog in my head, I've kept listening, monitoring 5 bands every day. I'm logging what I hear: patterns, bursts, dead carriers, Morse keys tapping out final messages like last rites. But yesterday, something else came through, and I'm still not sure if I imagined it. It was on AM 5065, just past dusk. The static started pulsing every 4 seconds. Then a voice. Male, calm. Do not leave the shelter. Air quality compromised. Local exposure index. 47. Respiratory vector confirmed. Trust no movement after dark. It didn't repeat. It wasn't automated. The cadence was too human. But here's the part that unsettles me. It used the phrase, local exposure index. 47. That's not a phrase I've heard outside of early CDC field reports. It refers to the number of confirmed environmental positives per square mile in the old DHS classification system. No civilian should know that. Which means this broadcast either came from a surviving government notior, someone who used to work for them. I tried to respond. No reply. I have a choice to make soon. The fever is rising slowly, not crashing. That buys me days. Maybe. But if my condition worsens and I lose motor function or cognition, then I won't be able to manage the fuel supply, the comms, or basic hygiene, which means this station, and everything in it, goes dark. I've begun prepping a timed relay loop. If I fail to broadcast for more than 3 days, it will switch over to autocycle. The message will loop every hour. Relay 41. Last known transmission site. Mendota, Illinois. Operator status, unknown. This site is still broadcasting. Approach with caution. Clean entry protocol required. I won't include my name. I've seen what happens when people become beacons. The ones who put their faces out there, their real voices, they attract more than help. I've also pulled a small waterproof capsule from the storage locker. Inside, a written list of frequencies, call signs, known survivor locations, medical notes, and a personal letter addressed simply to whoever finds this. I'll bury it beneath the external grounding rod if the fever gets worse. If you're hearing this wherever you are, know this. We're not done yet. Even when the lungs start to fail and the cough shakes your ribs and your mind starts slipping, there's still something in you that can push forward. A voice. This is Anthony Ward. Relay 41, Mendota, Illinois. Frequency 106.3 megahertz. It's 0600 hours. Diesel's holding. Comms are live. Batteries drained down to 38%. I'm still here. Fever dropped last night barely. Fever's down to 100.2, but the cough hasn't left. I'm drinking more now. Rationed down to just over 5 cups of water a day. Appetite's gone. Every bite feels like sandpaper. Muscles are stiff. It's harder to write, but I'm forcing the routine. 2 entries per day in the log. 1 transmission every morning. This is the last habit I have left. The airwaves have changed in the last 72 hours. A voice calling itself Shepherd 11 has been broadcasting in short pulses on 7150. It uses a deep male voice, clearly modulated, possibly AI, assisted to mask origin. He claims to be operating out of an unlisted mountain site near Durango, Colorado. His message repeats every 4 hours. Safe zone operational. No infection reported within compound perimeter. Entry requires confirmation code. Broadcast on 1432.5 USB if you are clean. It sounds too perfect, too polished, too well-funded, and I've heard this kind of offer before. In May, there were false signals from Atlanta promising refuge in what they called green light hubs. The people who showed up either disappeared or later called in, warning others to stay away. There's speculation among surviving ham operators that Shepherd 11 is a honeypot baiting signal from rogue security contractors gathering bodies for forced labor, organ salvage, or worse. I've seen drone footage from Idaho, hacked from a NOAA relay open pit burial zones, mass body movement in hazmat bags, helicopters with no country flag. This virus didn't just bring a pandemic. It created shadows for other things to crawl through. Some say Clean Slutty, a PMC, that used to operate under U.S. government subcontractors, still active in parts of the Midwest. Not as enforcers, but as freelancers. They're allegedly running black sites, places where suspected carriers are brought, not for treatment, but containment by other means. I don't know if it's true, but I know the silence surrounding their name is louder than any confirmation. Last night, something happened. At 01:23 hours, I heard a knock on the hatch. Twice. Not pounding, not frantic, deliberate. The bunker door is steel surplus from a Cold War Fallout retrofit. No camera, no intercom, just a manual locking bar and 3 inches of silence between me and whatever's outside. I waited. Then I heard a voice. Male, calm, American accent. Anthony, we know you're inside. Don't be afraid. That's all he said. I froze. Hands on the crowbar. Didn't speak. Didn't move. Waited 20 minutes in total silence. No more knocks, no footsteps, nothing. This morning I checked the exterior camera rig, only captures one frame every 5 seconds to conserve storage. But there was something. One still image, time-stamped exactly at 01:23. A figure in a dark coat standing still. No visible weapon. Head lowered. Mask on. No insignia. No facial ID. And this part chilled me. Was looking directly at the camera. He knew it was there. I haven't transmitted my name on open frequency since early May. Only in pre-recorded messages. Never paired it with coordinates. So how did he know? Either the woman from Kiev relayed more than she said, or someone cracked my frequency logs. That means there's surveillance still active. Somewhere out there, someone has access to the grid or what's left of it. Someone's listening. And now they're knocking. Was he alone? A scout? Or a testo see if I'd open the hatch? I've reinforced the entry. Reset the exterior motion sensor perimeter. Reprogrammed the relay's dead man trigger. If I go offline for 48 hours, the system will transmit a warning ping on every emergency band I've got. It won't say much, just this. Relay 40. 1 compromised. Do not approach. Possible hostile presence. I can't take chances now. Not this close. Not when I've survived 7 months on caution and silence. Some of you still hope for answers, for accountability, but I've been tracking patterns, transmissions, drone flight paths, satellite decay, and I can tell you, there won't be a hearing. There won't be a report. There won't be justice. Because the silence is the cover-up. Think about it. Why did the vaccines vanish after trial failure? Why did the NIH, the CDC, and the WHO go dark without issuing final bulletins? Why is it that the only people still communicating are amateurs, hobbyists, and survivors with salvaged gear? Because if there were survivors in charge, if there was a centralized plan, we would have heard from them. They're either dead or choosing to stay quiet. Maybe this is the plan. Not to rebuild, but to observe what's left. I'm not giving up. Not yet. The fever is fluctuating. It hasn't hit the red zone. I still have lucidity, some strength. I've secured the shelter, reset my transmitter schedules. Rotated through 5 bands last night, picked up only static. If this was a test, I passed it. But if they come back tonight, I've packed a go bag. Food for 3 days, shortwave radio, analog journal, a compact Pistolone magazine, last resort. I don't want to run, but I'll die on my own terms, not in someone else's experiment. And if I have to leave, I'll leave a signal. To anyone listening, I say this: don't trust what knocks without a name. Don't follow voices offering light without proof. And if someone finds Relay 41 abandoned, take what you need, but don't stay too long. This is Anthony Ward, Relay 41, Mendota, Illinois. Frequency 106.3 megahertz. Local time is 0600. It's 25 out. Inside temp 8. Battery power 14%. Fuel less than half a gallon left. This will be my last long transmission. The coughing kept me up all night. Rattling. Dry. There's a pressure under my ribs now that hasn't gone away since yesterday. Lungs feel thick. Breathing takes effort. Even speaking is coming out slower than I want. I can't eat. I haven't slept more than an hour in 2 days. I think this is the part people don't talk about. Not the dying, not the fear, but the hollowing out. Like something scooped out everything inside you that kept the lights on. This virus doesn't kill with screaming. It kills with quiet. And I think it's almost my turn. Yesterday at 0510 hours, I picked up something. A faint signal from east of Chicago. Directional triangulation placed it somewhere between Joliet and the old Joliet Arsenal. Repeater station Delta 2, possibly. That place was supposed to be sealed. It was a male voice. Clear. Clipped. Medical. If you are hearing this, we are requesting volunteers for live immunogen trials. Food, shelter, and compensation provided. No previous immunization required. No confirmed positive test history. Please respond on 9050 USB. They're calling it Compound T4. He read it like a standard message. No emotion. Repeated twice. Then silence. That was it. No threats. No promises. Just the offer. Test subjects. It's the first live human vaccine protocol I've heard mentioned in 2 months. No pre-recording, no delay. They want volunteers. And they don't care how sick you already are. I've run the math. I can stay here, ride it out. Maybe the fever breaks. Maybe the lungs clear. Maybe I make it. But probably not. I've felt it. The weight. The way my fingers can't quite grip the crowbar like they used to. The way I stare too long at buttons before remembering what they do. Or I walk. The arsenal's 52 miles east. A straight shot along back roads and what's left of Route 52. I know how to get there. I know what to bring. I've got a respirator, 3 quarts of water, protein powder, and an emergency glucose tube. I'd never make it healthy. But I'm not healthy. I'm already dying. And maybe, if I get there, and they're real, and this isn't some butcher's den or quarantine trap, maybe I help make something that works. Not for me. For whoever's left after me. I spent 7 months broadcasting the fall. Reporting on the collapse of safe zones, the silence of governments, the lies people told when they were scared. Maybe it's time to stop reporting. Maybe it's time to be part of the story. My body. Final entry. Temperatures at 102.4. Definitely high. Oxygen level dropped to 89% during sleep. Shallow breathing. Cough persistent. Bloody in the morning. Delirium present during early morning hours. Eyes sensitive to light. Fingers tremble after extended use. Time distortion noted. Sometimes forget what hour it is. Last full meal. 2.5 days ago. Weight loss. Approximately 20 pounds since infection onset. I've packed a sealed envelope in the safe under the cot. It contains every frequency log, contact trace, ham call sign, vaccine rumors, black market radio codes, and survivor transmissions I've documented since February. If you're hearing this, and you find Relay 41 after I've gone, it's yours now. Use it, spread it, burn it. I don't care. Just don't let this place go dark forever. Don't wait for a better world. There isn't one waiting for you. But there's still choices, even now, even sick, even scared, even half broken. I choose this. I'll take my body, my fever, my voice, my last breath, and I'll walk east, toward a place I don't know, toward people who might be liars, or might be trying to save something. And I'll tell them, use me. If you're still trying to fight this thing, use me. Maybe I'll be another number. Maybe I'll be another wasted name in a logbook. But maybe I'll be the one that worked. Maybe I'll be the last test. This is Anthony Ward, Relay 41, signing off. You're listening to the radio during the COVID-25 pandemic. And this was the last broadcast from a man who still believed there was something worth trying for. If this transmission reaches you, tell someone. And if I don't come back, remember my name.